sidestep, Curry drive, Curry flip, Curry good!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on KNBR 104.5 and 6.8. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Golden State out of timeouts. James perfect from the line, 5 for 5. A 35-point, 20 rebound, 12 assist, triple-double. Lakers lead. Warriors have to throw it down the length. Hope for a miracle. Curry launches at the buzzer. Won't go, and the Lakers hold on and win in double overtime. What a performance from LeBron James and the Lakers to get the road win. And what an excruciating loss once again for the Golden State Warriors.
Back-to-back games, Mike, with an opportunity to win and come up with play short again. 32 clutch games, 15 and 17 in those. Despite 46.
Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr era, I can't remember back-to-back games that are as just heartbreaking as the Warriors' last two L's that they've taken here in two of the last three nights. 145-144 is the final in favor of the Lakers after the Kings edged the Warriors on Thursday night over at Chase Center by a single point as well. So 808 KNBR is the number. We welcome you in. It's Dubs OT with JD, John Dickinson, here on The Sports Leader. It's a pleasure again to be coming to you from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City, the new home for Dubs OT with JD following games that are played in the city. And appreciate if you're in the area, stop by and say hi, as we're going to keep this thing going as long as the people want to talk about another just crushing type loss for the Golden State Warriors, as they now are 5 games under 500, which is the lowest watermark that the Warriors have had over the last 2 seasons. They were never worse than 4 games under until tonight. Now 5 games under at 19 and 24, less than 2 weeks to go to the trade deadline. But just an incredible game tonight that ends with Draymond Green fouling LeBron James and LeBron James hitting a couple of free throws. The biggest disappointment, I think, when you look at this game for the Warriors is all of the things that went right. We can look at all the things that didn't go right. And look, tonight's the kind of night where if the Warriors and Steve Kerr wanted to come out in the postgame press conference and blast the officiating, they could get away with it. And I think they'd have, in many people's eyes, a pretty good reason to be able to do it. You look at the free throw disparity in this one, and again, I always make a point to note, nobody says free throws have to be even or equal in an NBA basketball game. The Lakers did shoot 43 tonight. The Warriors did shoot 16. 11 of 16, some critical misses for the Warriors among the 5 that they missed. If the Warriors make 14 of their 16, they end up winning the game. If they make a couple in regulation, Andrew Wiggins was 3 for 5, but the 2 that he missed were critical. Maybe we're talking about a different outcome in this one. But, yeah, there was different points in the game where it felt like the Lakers kind of got the call that they needed. That's all for the officiating, though, at least at this point, because I do want to talk about the rest of the game. I don't think it was as egregious as social media and Warrior fans were kind of making it out to seem during the game, but the numbers are the numbers in terms of disparity. And, you know, the one thing I will say is Stephen Curry definitely does not get the whistle of other players when he's driving to the basket. and Curry put a hell of a move on to force this game into overtime in the fourth quarter. And you could make a case, did he get fouled on that one? There were a couple of jumpers that were a little bit forced from Steph Curry. Maybe he got fouled on a couple of those. But all in all, tonight's a night where it can be a backbreaker. It really can. Like tonight, coupled with Thursday, sort of zooming out from to the big picture a little bit, can be the kind of games that make a team tap out, that make a franchise change course as far as what the ultimate goals are for an NBA season. And so how do the Warriors respond now in a game where so many tremendous performances go for naught? Stephen Curry, 46 points tonight. 46 points for Stephen Curry. Warriors lose the game. Andrew Wiggins fouled out in 41 minutes, scored 22 points. Wiggins and Kuminga, for all the conversation about those two and their ability or inability to play together, each had 22 points. Each did it efficiently. Each put their imprint on the game, either rebounding or with defense. Both played really good quality basketball in this game. It goes for naught. Klay Thompson scored 24 tonight. Not an efficient 24 on 9 of 24 shooting, but that goes for naught. In fact, I was looking up the number and saw the note late in this one. The Warriors had 4 players with 20 or more points for the first time this season, and they wind up losing. They scored a season high, 144 points. Takes 2 overtimes to do it. They wind up losing. The Warriors have flat out wasted 3 of Andrew Wiggins' best 5 games this season. Andrew Wiggins, the game against Oklahoma City on November the 18th, Warriors wind up losing that game as he goes for 30. He had another 20-plus point game in Sacramento in November. Warriors lost that game late with a blown lead and ended up taking the L. And so with the inability for the consistency of Wiggins and Klay Thompson specifically this season to show out, to have it show out tonight and have the Warriors still not be able to come out with a victory, it's incredibly frustrating, and it just knocks you down. It just absolutely knocks you down. Steve Kerr rode his best players tonight and rode them till the end. When you look at the minutes, I mean, the best 5 that the Warriors had to offer was Steph and Klay tonight with Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green. Steph played 43 minutes. Klay played 47 before he fouled out. Wiggins 41 before he fouled out. Kuminga 43, a career high, and Draymond Green played 46 minutes. And Draymond Green was spectacular in this game. I saved him for last. Draymond Green was a plus 33 in 58 minutes of NBA basketball tonight. He played 46 of them. In the 46 minutes Draymond Green played, the Warriors were a plus 33 for the game. They lost this game in the minutes that Draymond Green did not play. The Warriors a minus 34 in the minutes, and there were only 12 of them that Draymond Green did not play. And that proves to be the difference. We can talk about overtime and the inability to get a stop and the free throw disparity and all the shots that the Lakers hit that were dagger-type shots to allow them to move forward and earn this victory over at Chase Center tonight. But the Warriors lost this game in the minutes in which Draymond Green was not on the court. The Warriors lost this game in the fourth quarter as they built a 114-105 lead right around the moment. Like, Draymond went out, Lakers cut into the lead immediately as they did all night. It was a 9-point game that got knocked down to a 2-point game, 107-98 to 107-105, and then the Warriors very quickly got that 7 right back to make it a 114-105 game. The interior defense was dramatically better when Draymond Green was on the floor. But D'Angelo Russell started to get hot. Klay Thompson took a bad 3. Warriors got a little 3-happy down the stretch, got stagnant. Lakers immediately went on a 10-0 run. It ended up being a 13-4 Lakers run at the end to force overtime, and the Warriors needed some Stephen Curry heroics just to get the game into overtime. The Wiggins missed free throws after the challenge, just catastrophic. I mean, Curry took some tough shots, I thought, down the stretch, missed a three. Reeves hit a couple of free throws. Curry missed a fading two, and then Russell put the Lakers up 115 to 114. The Warriors wound up with Curry getting called for a loose ball foul on Anthony Davis. Davis ended up hitting a couple of free throws off of that. That would have been a challengeable play that I think the Warriors would have had a shot to challenge. But Steve Kerr burned his challenge in the first half trying to save Jonathan Kuminga from picking up a third foul late in the first half. Then you had the wild, inadvertent whistle, and what was going on? Looked like Klay got fouled on a three in the corner. No call there. Leads to a jump ball at center court. Curry took a layup off the Warriors winning that tap. Another fortuitous and a hell of a play by Draymond Green winning the jump ball against Anthony Davis. Curry ends up with a layup. Anthony Davis splits a pair. Warriors do call the timeout down 2 that they didn't call down 1 on Thursday night against Sacramento. And Steph Curry with an incredible freaking move to get the game-tying layup. Was he fouled? Was he not? We can get into that here at 808 KNBR, but it all ends up being a 13-4 run for the Lakers to send the game into OT. OT, it was back and forth. Lakers quickly out to a 4-point lead, and the Warriors looked like they were in trouble, but that's when Steph Curry put the Warriors on his back, hits a three. Anthony Davis misses a three. Curry then took a bad two, but D'Angelo Russell was fouled and hit a couple of free throws, but Klay Thompson with the big three to force the second overtime, all tied at 130. And then ultimately in the second overtime, Lakers just hitting daggers. LeBron, dagger. Russell, tough in this one. Lakers built a 5-point lead. Kuminga with one of two of the difficult missed free throws of the night. So the Warriors are down 4, but again, stayed patient. Steph Curry with a layup. But the Klay Thompson three, the Andrew Wiggins steal, and then Curry hits the three to put the Warriors up by 2. Klay Thompson fouls out on what appeared to be a bad call, but Draymond Green got the stop. So we're talking about a number of different bad calls here. Podziemski missed what could have been a dagger for the Warriors, up 2 with the ball. Took a quick but wide open three, misses that. D'Angelo Russell then puts the Lakers back ahead. Wiggins fouls out, but Austin Reeves, as everybody was just doggedly tired there at the end, split a pair of free throws to make it a 2-point game. But then Draymond Green with the screen of the year on Vanderbilt to free up Curry at the top, and Curry goes heroics from deep again. But after the Lakers take the ball out of bounds, Draymond fouls LeBron. LeBron makes both, and the Warriors are handed just one of the most difficult losses you'll ever see, on top of another incredibly difficult loss on Thursday night. So 808 KNBR is the number. Warriors left it all out there. I'm fascinated to see if Steve Kerr does discuss the officiating in his post-game press conference. We'll keep you locked in on that as the Warriors lose this one to the Lakers to dip now to 19-24. Again, so many things the Warriors did well, so many key contributions. Brutal stuff for Golden State. We want to hear from you. 808 KNBR is the number. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line is open as well, as the Warriors wind up losing this one by that final of 145 to 144, and it becomes a question of where do you go from here? How do you pick yourself off the mat and keep picking yourself off the mat to try and make a run? I thought tonight was indicative of just how not deep this Warriors team truly is, in sort of a bigger picture landscape, but just a crusher to get so many positive performances and to have the players that the Warriors had in double figures tonight, and the players that the Warriors had 4 going for 20 or more, with Kuminga and Wiggins joining Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and then Draymond Green being a plus 33 on top of it. So you had 5 guys who impacted the game in a mammoth way. and you still can't get the win that you need to try and give yourself some momentum. And now you're looking at Philadelphia before a whole hell of a lot of road games leading up to the trade deadline and leading up to the All-Star break, which is still more than about 2.5 to 3 weeks away. So 808 KNBR is the number. Just a loss. At a loss. I mean, where do you put the blame? Missed free throws, stagnation in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, this one goes in, I think, not to the level of the Denver game for the Warriors and the loss that they had here a couple of weeks ago in San Francisco to the Denver Nuggets. But this one's right up there with the 5 or 6 now games that the Warriors just let completely get away. 2 against Oklahoma City, 1 home, 1 away. The game in Sacramento at the end of November was a game that the Warriors absolutely should have won. There are a couple of other ones. A game against Minnesota that they played without Steph and Curry. They had a lead in. All right, you don't have Steph, so you can understand that's going all the way back to November. But the Warriors have just kicked these games away in a big-time way, and it's why they are, unfortunately, where they are with this record currently now sitting at 5 games under the 500 mark. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch out here from Harmonic Brewing. From the land of Hella, they were a minus 27. Actually, they were a minus 34 by my count in the minutes that Draymond Green didn't play. It was even worse than that. Shout out to the Draymond haters. But, a lot of people filing in on the chat. Rebel DeSounds, people weighing in on the officiating. And, look, if people want to get into it about the officiating tonight, that's fine with me. Like, I'll take it. Rebel DeSounds, Steph shot 2 free throws. Are you telling me the whole game he never got fouled at any point in the game? No. I think there were a couple of times where he got fouled, in particular on drives. I think the lack of calls on drives are the distinct difference in where Stephen Curry is officiated compared to other players of his caliber. And look, Draymond Green fouled LeBron James on the final play. Like, nobody's going to argue with that call, but there were times, I think, where Steph was driving that he didn't get those calls that would have resulted in free throws that I think would be frustrating enough to really put the Warriors in a mood where they would want to speak to it potentially in the post-game press conference. And I know the Warrior fans out here at Harmonic are frustrated. And, again, just another heartbreaker. KM Johnson, I'm so tired of hearing heartbreaking loss. Goo Goo Gaga, 76ers on Tuesday, LOL. Yeah, 76ers hung with Denver tonight despite not playing a number of their regulars, including Joel Embiid. Goo Goo Gaga adding Embiid going for 80. Enrique Rivera, appreciate you joining the program as well on the YouTube stream after a horrible start. Klay bounced back big. Yeah, Klay made some big-time shots, some clutch shots. 1 of 8, I believe Klay Thompson was in the first half. You look up at the end of the night at Klay Thompson's numbers overall, and he ends up 9 of 24. So that means he was an 8 of 16 in the second half and knocked down 6 threes in the second half as well to finish with the 24 points. Second half plus the 2 overtimes as the Warriors and Lakers ended up going 58 minutes over at Chase in this one tonight. But the Lakers ultimately prevail and win this one over the Warriors. More on the YouTube chat. Saric is a statue on defense. Yeah, Saric, and really anybody that wasn't Draymond among the bigs. The Saric-Looney combo, as Steve Kerr basically flipped it. He put Draymond and Kuminga in as starters. He put Saric and Looney in as bench players. Well, here's the thing, and tonight's the night that this really is exemplified. The reality of the situation is if Draymond and Kuminga are going to start, which they absolutely deserve to, you can't not play the other guys. It just means that the other guys are going to be playing other minutes in the game. You hope to limit those minutes as much as possible, and you hope to get some positive contributions from the other players that have to play. But unfortunately, the Warriors had this game wrecked in the 12 minutes that Draymond Green, of the 58 total minutes in the game, didn't play. Unheard of to have that level of disparity. Plus 33 for Draymond, and then minus 34 in all of the other minutes. But, yeah, Saric defensively a problem. Really, the Warriors with nobody off the bench that really put too much of a positive imprint on the game. Looney was terrible tonight, so much so that Steve Kerr went away from him. Trayce Jackson-Davis put a decent imprint on the game, but the Lakers had a run in that short stretch right before Draymond was put back in. And, you look at Podziemski. Podziemski did get some buckets tonight, and he was the guy that went in for a couple of inbounds passes on a couple of plays where the Warriors hit massive threes, both the Klay and the Steph threes, late in each of the overtime sessions. Podziemski was the inbounder on both, and his ability, he went in for Kuminga to be able to help get the ball in, but also be a threat as a three-point shooter on the floor, I think helped allow Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry both to get those attempts up. But you look at this one, and it still winds up not being enough for the Warriors as they lose in this one. Rebel to Sounds, a lot of fishy calls. Bad refs, just 300. That wasn't a foul on Wiggs, on Reeves late. Poor coaching on Kerr's part, put a big man in late. Well, I don't know what the big man was that he put in late. Or maybe he's saying he should have put a big man in late. The Warriors basically had 5.5 good players tonight, and I'm counting Podziemski as the half. I mean, it was the starters, and it was Podziemski was the most playable guy among the other group. But stop telling me this Warriors team is deep. Stop telling me that this Warriors team is among the deepest that they've had in a decade. How can you not give Draymond Green a nod in this one? LeBron, veteran move, driving to the basket. Got fouled, hit the 2 free throws, game over. No doubt, you got to credit LeBron James there. But that's what it's going to be. You're always in trouble when Corey Joseph comes in on defense. That's a funny one. But anyway, 808 KNBR is the number. 808 KNBR here on The Sports Leader. It's John Dickinson. It's Dubs OT with JD. Appreciate everybody watching on the YouTube stream. We do want to get to some phone calls here coming up, as well as the Warriors find themselves losing this one 145 to 144 in double overtime. A very difficult loss to swallow, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter why you lose or how you lose. This is another loss that the Warriors have to be able to bounce back from and try to show some semblance of a willingness to want to save their season. Tonight's the kind of game, coupled with the game on Thursday, where it could cause teams, especially teams that have been as mediocre overall as the Warriors have been this season, to let go of the rope, to basically decide, all right, this thing's cooked. It's not happening for us. And, let's sort of, get to the finish line and have it be the end of a season. You can't do that, even at the outside looking in, if you're Golden State. So let's go ahead and pause here. We are going to have Sounds of Silver. I do want to get Greg Silver's thoughts on this one, as he will join me coming up next as well, doing an incredible job in our San Francisco studios, trying to get some post-game sound, get Sounds of Silver ready. But 808 KNBR is the number. Give me a call, shoot me a text out here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City, following another tough one for the Dubs. Lakers beat them by 145 to 144. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
This sucks.
Hoops Heads, Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps ballin'. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Curry comes free. Curry, wide open three. Bang! Bang! Curry from downtown. Warriors up one, timeout. The magic of Steph Curry reappears.
Yeah, Mike Breen on the call, ABC. Some big-time heroics from Steph and Curry, not enough tonight. Lakers beat the Warriors 145-144 over at Chase in 2 overtimes. It's Dubs OT with JD from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City here on KNBR, the sports leader. 808 KNBR is the number to give me a call or shoot me a text. Some phone calls coming up here, but we do have a couple of lines open at 808 KNBR. The YouTube chat is alive, and people are fired up in the YouTube chat tonight following just another absolute disastrous, crushing, heartbreaking loss for the Golden State Warriors. 2 prime takeaways. This game shouldn't have gone to OT to begin with, and the Warriors allowed the game to go to OT because they went stagnant down the stretch offensively. And the great Greg Silver, who joins me now here on the Sports Leader, made the point that the Warriors' offensive identity, and I'll let you continue this point, Greg, is non-existent down the stretch in games, aside from basically Steph and Curry looking to be the hero. And, yeah, the Warriors got really stagnant. They took some quick threes. The ball movement was not there at all. Wiggins and Kuminga, you almost have to force feed Wiggins in certain spots to get him to go. Kuminga's not afraid to go, but I think you want Kuminga's shots to be in the flow of the offense, even if he is looking to put his head down and drive. And so, you got to be careful. I thought there were maybe, as well as Kuminga played the other night, there were a couple of ISO plays that were really him pounding. I don't think those would have been as effective against the Lakers. So you want to get him the ball with some momentum. And then Klay's unafraid to shoot, but the Warriors really weren't getting Klay the good looks that you want. So, yeah, this is a lot of games, and there's 5 or 6 of them that we've listed here, Greg, where the Warriors have built leads, had leads, been in position to win. But the reason this game gets to overtime is the inability for the Warriors to continue their offensive prowess down the stretch and let teams back into games to where they can steal it. And that's exactly what happened with the Lakers walking out of Chase with a victory.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder at what point is it just a will breaker for losses like this, because they add up and it's gotten really, 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 really difficult. And you kind of talked about this with me during the break, but they wasted some really good efforts. They wasted Klay having a great half and overtime stretch. They wasted Andrew Wiggins largely playing a pretty good game, especially offensively. And with the offense coming down the stretch, so I texted you while you're at the game when the Warriors had that great run in the third quarter. It was 14-0, I think, but then you get the free throw coming out of the timeout. And I said they can foul the Lakers and immediately put them back in the game. So in between that timeout and the following timeout, the Warriors had 4 fouls and 1 turnover. And it quickly got back to 5, I think, maybe 6 when Jared Vanderbilt had that and one in the third quarter. And it's hard because Draymond was phenomenal tonight. You can't really fault Steph Curry for anything. Like, I know he turns the ball over sometimes down the stretch, but the shots he was hitting, and you could see it even before that first overtime on the bench, he looked so gassed. I mean, the burden of Steph and Curry on this team to just be flawless is truly unreasonable for any star. And he was 98% perfect down the stretch of this one and hit every possible shot he could have that mattered. I am okay saying that I think he got fouled on the layup with Anthony Davis to force that first overtime. 3 free throws is wildly ridiculous. We saw things like a lane violation get called. Hey, newsflash, that happens every single time on a free throw. We even saw a couple traveling calls tonight, I guess some against the Lakers. And then an inadvertent whistle in crunch time. I mean, it's I'm not saying that is the sole reason for the Warriors losing the game. I'm with you that the fact it went to overtime is kind of where they lost it. But when you have no margin for error, you can't have any little thing go against you. And that's just the reality of where we're at with the Warriors. And the bottom line is that this team, the current iteration of this team, is just not good enough because other than Draymond Green, you don't have someone who will reliably step up and take pride in stopping the man in front of them.
No doubt. And, the Warriors defensively were just horrendous in the time that Draymond Green was not on the court tonight. I mean, it was the rim protection was not there. The challenging of drivers was not there. And, I mean, Draymond single-handedly stopped, 8 or 10 drives to the basket. I mean, whether it was a block shot or an altered shot or just putting his body in the way.
I mean, literally the only person that could stop Anthony Davis.
We talked about it on Just Dubs this morning. The Warriors just don't have enough good defenders on their roster. I mean, Draymond's a really good defender, excellent defender. Wiggins is a good defender. And then you got Gary Payton II. Really nobody other than that. Looney hasn't been this season for the most part, at least not at the level that he's been in the past. But really, other than that, the Warriors do not have good defenders. Like, Stephen Curry does the best he can. Klay Thompson is not a good defender half the time now. Kuminga is a terrible team defender. He's a much better on-ball defender. Podziemski takes charges, but I don't think – and he's a willing defender, but Podziemski is not a good defender. And so, you look at the players that are playing the bulk of the minutes. Chris Paul – does the best he can for a player of his size. I should probably leave Chris Paul out of it since he was on the sideline tonight. But when you just look at the roster, the Warriors don't have enough good, and they especially don't have enough good defenders, Greg, going up against a team that has the length and the size of the Lakers. And that doesn't mean that I know there's a lot on social media about big men, and you got to play a big, and the Warriors need a big, and they don't have a big. There was no big that was going to be playing over the 5 that played the bulk of the minutes for the Warriors. Now, could you have had a couple of minutes of somebody here or there that could have put more of an imprint on the game, and maybe it doesn't get to the point where the game goes to OT or double OT? Possibly. But there's no big man that Steve Kerr was going to put in when Curry and Klay and Wiggins and Kuminga and Draymond Green were playing at the level that they were playing at to help put the Warriors in position where they had the 9-point leads that they had in the fourth quarter and had an opportunity to win those games, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about this morning on Just Dubs. We've gone double duty today. It's been a really long day. That game alone would have taken it out of us, but here we are still somehow
These are the days I live for, Greg. These are the days I live for. I live for games like today. I live for days like today. I live for talking about games. Although Warrior fans are obviously hoping that they were a win in both of these, but I live for the last 2 games and the stuff that just it just makes your jaw drop down the stretch and is frustrating and agonizing. But it gets your blood moving, gets your blood flowing. I mean, this is why we do it for nights like tonight and talking about this basketball game and talking about the game on Thursday night and talking about this Warriors season. So I couldn't be more thrilled to be on the air, to be here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. But it's a tough loss, and it's the loss. Stephen Curry ripped his jersey. Did you catch that?
I did.
He ripped his jersey at the end of this one in frustration. Basically, just he took it off and he just tore it. He just as the Warriors let another one of these games slip away, you could make the case that their record, because there's been so many of them, Greg, could be flipped at this point. But again, game shouldn't have been in OT. If the Warriors are able to execute, for all the discussion about defense and the fouling and all those things, if the Warriors could have executed a couple of possessions offensively in those final 4 to 6 minutes, they wind up putting the game away and they don't go to overtime, and we're not talking about all the good things that the Warriors ultimately wasted. So tonight's not on coaching. It can be on personnel. I think, and the Warriors do have some injuries and all that, but I will say this, again, this team ain't deep. Like, we keep talking about this team like they've got all this depth and these different players that can contribute and participate. Tonight where it shows you that this team is not as deep as they've been advertised. I think the lone bright spot, and I want to get your take on this, and again, phone lines are open at 808 KNBR, but the lone bright spot tonight is the fact that Draymond with Kuminga at the 4 and Wiggins at the 3, there's some action there. Like, that front court can make some hay. And so I think the Warriors now know that's how they're going to move forward. Again, it's a little bit different with Joel Embiid potentially coming in on Tuesday. Embiid didn't play in the game today. They played in Denver, but that's a whole different animal. It's a different animal against Jokic, although nobody guards Jokic better than Draymond. It's going to tax the hell out of Draymond physically to have to be out there and guarding these bigs. But the Warriors do have a front court that I do think has the ability to thrive. And not so fast with the Wiggins-Kuminga pairing as long as they are paired with Draymond Green on the floor. That's a reason, I think, for some optimism. But any of that, Greg, reason for optimism is negated by everything that the Warriors wasted in the 420-plus point game. And the fact that this team's going to have to get hot now just to get to 500. Can they do it in short enough order to show Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Joe Lacob that this season is worth salvaging and worth saving? And I don't even think that's a matter of making a trade now at this point. It's a matter of not making a trade that sort of breaks up the group and sends things down the path of being more in complete developmental mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there, JD. And listen, I have said this on many, many, many occasions, all the way back to even like 2 years ago when it was like, or I guess I would say last year when things were kind of dicey in the season. I will never, ever question the competitive willpower and spirit of a Stephen Curry, a Draymond Green, a Kevon Looney, a Klay Thompson, and that core. But that being said, like, there's just no sugarcoating anything tonight. I love the fact that we got to watch a crazy game and see two of the all-time great players go at it back and forth. I agree with you, JD, that is a privilege to be on the air after such a wild gift that the basketball gods have given us. But here in the Bay Area and focusing on this one team, it is also a little bit taunting and torturous when, the Warriors can have some brutal ones, but maybe mix in a couple of really exhilarating ones in there. And I was thinking if the Warriors had pulled that off, that kind of would have been alone in the group with the Celtics win of really impressive, just gritty, resilient, hard-fought, reason for optimism wins. And when you pair that with the losses, the 2 Sacramento games, the Clippers game when they were up 22, the Nuggets game tonight.
Oh, yeah, the Clippers.
Like, I could go on and on and on. The 2 Thunder games where they failed to foul Chet Holmgren and then they did foul Chet Holmgren, but he was shooting. Like, it is just way too tilted of a scale to be in delusional mode right now. And I just don't want to be optimism or be positive at the cost of being delusional right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there are positive takeaways from any game, really. And that's fine, and we can point them out. But no, the reality of the situation for the Warriors right now is they're 19-25. And even if you win half of the games that you just mentioned, and I appreciate you mentioned a couple of the ones. Yeah, you got 2 Sacramentos, you got 2 OKCs, you've got the game in December against the Clippers, the afternoon game in LA. You've got a bunch of these games that the Warriors have just you win half of those games. You win half of them. And I think even if this team is 500 at 22-22, we're having a completely different conversation, especially with Draymond Green back in the fold. And the combination of Wiggins and Kuminga and Draymond Green looking as effective as it did tonight when those players were on the floor together. So I think, that's where this thing is so difficult. It's that now how do you call up a game like tonight? And too many times the Warriors, I just look at Wiggins and the great games that Andrew Wiggins has had this year. There hadn't been a lot of them, but the Warriors have kicked away a couple of them over the course of this season. Tonight was Andrew Wiggins' fifth 20-plus point game of the season, Greg. Fifth.
Christmas Day we also missed. That was one of the 20-point games for Wiggins.
It was. The Warriors have wasted now 3 of the 5 tonight, and then the other 2, the Sacramento game at the end of November in Sacramento when the Warriors had a 6-point lead with 1:05 to go, and then the game against Oklahoma City at Chase where they didn't foul Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren hit the 3, and then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander took over in the overtime. The other one was Christmas Day. The lone win now as the Warriors lose this game, so they're 1-4. The Warriors are 1-4 in the 5 Wiggins 20 or more games. The lone win was in Portland on December the 17th when I was doing the show for State Farm Stadium after the 49ers had played the Cardinals. And that was a game that the Warriors had to sweat it out down the stretch just to hang on to. The other one was Christmas, as you mentioned, where the Warriors faded down the stretch. I don't put the Denver game on Christmas in the same category as tonight, but that's another game where, hey, they were right in it, and they faded down the stretch. They didn't win it. So difficult stuff there for the Warriors. 808 KNBR is the number. It's John Dickinson. It's Dubs OT with JD here on The Sports Leader. Greg, who do we have on the phone lines here on The Sports Leader?
We got Mark and Millbrae. I can put him up right now.
Let's do it. Mark and Millbrae, you are on Dubs OT with JD. Frustrating night for the Warriors, Mark. What's on your mind?
Yeah, especially following that the way the Kings game ended. The Warriors have just been so snake-bit this year with how many close games they got away. That game shouldn't even gone to regulation. I just hate that the Warriors get so three-ball happy instead of taking, the shots around the paint there, always trying to go for the dagger shot when you can put a team away. There was no reason why you could have put in the Lakers. The Lakers were just about right for taking there in the fourth quarter, and their shot selection has been a major reason why they find themselves in this position. I don't know why Kerr doesn't reiterate to these guys, when you have a lead and you can ice the team away, don't take away those dagger threes when you could just, drive to the paint, get fouled, and just try to put the game away that way. And you let teams hang around like the Lakers, and what happens? They make their runs at the end there. The officiating, to me, in my mind, at the game tonight was very, very suspect tonight. I thought it was very brutal, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, when you're the Warriors and you're going the way you are, and especially a team with the Lakers, when you got bigs like they do, who are going to attack the paint, you're not going to probably get those calls. So it's just frustrating as hell, man. The Warriors had their foot on their neck, and they just didn't put them away, and they fought their guts out. As you mentioned, Curry was incredible. So many big-time plays down the stretch, but unfortunately, when you got an all-time great like LeBron there, and you just come out of the short end, and we've been used to that so many times this year. What's your opinion now in terms of they're falling even deeper in the hole? Now you got the Philly coming up next, and then from there, before the trade deadline, you just stay with that same starting lineup and just try to play it that way, or do you think Kerr makes lineup changes starting with a tough Philly team? I'll take your thoughts on it. Thanks for the time.
I wouldn't make any lineup changes for Philly. I would roll with Draymond, and I would roll with Kuminga and Wiggins and Klay and Steph. I wouldn't make any changes. I would ride that out and see how this team can do with that. I mean, Kuminga was good again. He got off to a poor start, but by the end of the night was real positive, the impact that he put on the game. And so, he's not the kind of guy that I think you want to be overly going to in isolation, but He played very well. Defensively, there's still probably a few too many miscues, but he's one of their 5-6 best players right now, without a doubt. So he needs to be out there. The problem is, and I mentioned this in the first segment, the issue is you can make the lineup changes the Warriors did with Draymond and Kuminga going into the starting lineup, Saric and Looney coming out, but you still have to play bench guys. And so you're basically, the Warriors' problem had been the times in which, it had been the start of the game, basically. The problems had been, slow starts. Well, you fix some of that with Draymond on the court, but now your bench minutes, because you still have to go to Saric and Looney or Saric and Trace Jackson-Davis, and when you do, you're not, those combinations aren't as effective as the bench combinations have been with Kuminga and Draymond. So you're just kind of moving around the problem, so to speak. But that being said, I would keep it locked and be able to essentially keep those two in the starting lineup and just ride this thing out. The next week and a half to 2 weeks is going to tell the story as to what the Warriors do. I'll tell you one thing I won't do. I wouldn't do. I'm gonna hold it until after we pause here. But there's one thing that I wouldn't do, and it may surprise you. And I know there was a report today that said the Warriors were maybe inclined to look to make a move along these lines. I wouldn't do it. I'll tell you what that is coming up next. It's Dubs OT with JD. We're live at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Appreciate everybody. We got Julia and Mike here tonight. Also, Jimmy and Grace among the regulars here. Jimmy, the manager. Appreciate everybody. Sipping on a Kolsch, as I usually am, so appreciate that. But we'll keep this thing rolling as long as the people want to talk. I'll also give you the key sequence in the second overtime that I think ultimately did the Warriors in. It's all straight ahead. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680 V Sports Leader.
High five. Not.
Chef Curry to CP3. We're repping the Bays team. Dubs OT with John Dickinson now continues. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Wiggins gets inside, can't get it. Hachimura on the rebound. And his feet looks pretty good there as he brings it up the floor. But you were right, Doris. Whips a pass inside Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt scores in a foul. Another spectacular pass. James hears it from the Warrior bench and has a smile.
All right, Mike Breen there. Lakers beat the Dubs 145-144 back here at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Stop by, say hi if you're leaving the area and you're heading on into the night here on a Saturday, gearing up for the NFC Championship game tomorrow down at Levi's. Give me a call or shoot me a text, 808-KNBR, or you can stop by, say hi. I'll buy you a Kolsch if you stop by and you say hi here on the Sports Leader as the Lakers improve to 500. And actually beyond 500, 24-23. Warriors now 19-24 as we continue here on Dubs OT. Before we get back to the YouTube chat, and I will get back to the YouTube chat coming up here in just a moment, over at Chase, only Steve Kerr has spoken. Now, this game ended, Greg, I'm going to ask you, but this game ended it was a little after 9, right? What time, when did this game end?
Glad you asked. I'm actually required now by our wonderful boss, Michael Holler, to write the start time and the end time for our Dubs OT. We started the show at 9:07. It is currently 10:04, so I want to say the game probably ended at about maybe 9:03, 9:02.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, so the game ended an hour ago. Only Steve Kerr has come to the podium inside Chase Center as I got to think this Warriors locker room is just gutted with not only the loss that they took tonight, but the loss that they took a couple of nights ago at home against Sacramento. I mean, 1-point games that the Warriors believe they should have won. Wild shot making, by Klay Thompson, by Steph and Curry to help get the game into overtime after it never should have been in overtime at all. And the Warriors wind up losing. And so who comes to the podium? I think somebody's going to have to. Steph typically can take up to an hour to get out there.
I predict we see Draymond Green.
Draymond, as long as he doesn't come out and rip the officiating, which I got to be honest, I don't think Draymond Green would come out tonight and rip the officiating. I mean, I think it could be part of the conversation. And I do know we're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up in Sounds of Silver. But Steve Kerr did do I'm not going to comment. He did I'm not going to comment on the free throw disparity, which, as we talked about tonight, wound up being in the Lakers' advantage. 43 attempts to 16 for the Warriors. Warriors only shot 16, but if they had made a couple of more than 11 to the 16, they probably would have walked out of Chase with a victory in this game tonight. So 808-KNBR, the number, Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line here on Dubs OT with JD. If anybody else comes to the podium over across the street at Chase, we'll get to you here on the Sports Leader. Greg, who do we got on the phone lines here on Dubs OT? Okay. Standing by. 808-KNBR. I was going to say this as far as we get the phone calls locked in. I would not trade Andrew Wiggins. That's the one thing I would say. I would not trade Andrew Wiggins if I'm the Warrior. Apologies to those of you on YouTube if my screen goes away there for a minute. As I try to get things lined up here on the Sports Leader. I would not trade Andrew Wiggins if I'm the Golden State. I know there was a report, Mark Stein, I think, NBC Sports Bay Area. He's doing some freelance work, doing some hits for them. I would not look. I'm intrigued enough by the way that this thing has looked with Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green And Andrew Wiggins is still young enough. I mean, Andrew Wiggins in February is going to be 29. And so he's still, I think, a young enough player and a good enough athlete to where you got him on a contract that's going to go down over the next few years. So I know there might be a, hey, what's going on with Wiggins? Can he be counted on moving forward type of a deal? But I think as you look at signs of any kind of optimism, I like the Kuminga-Wiggins pairing as long as Draymond Green's out there with them. I think that might be, because here's the thing. If you are trying to be Johnny Optimism and you are trying to look at ways that the Warriors can get hot, and the Warriors are going to have to get hot, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to find, no trade is going to save them at this point. It's going to have to come from within, and I think if it's going to have to come from within, you have to look at who the Warriors' best players are right now. And you're riding this thing out, I think, with Steph and Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Look, Draymond Green was, in many ways, the best player on the floor for the Warriors tonight, plus 33 in his 46 minutes out of the 58 that were played in total. So, Draymond ain't going anywhere. Steph ain't going anywhere. Klay Thompson, I think you kick the can down the line. As far as the summer, I got you. I appreciate it. I had somebody come up and dap me up here. I said, hey, I got you if you want one. I said I would buy somebody a brew here if they stopped by and said hi. Yeah, nobody else on the Warriors was more than a +2 tonight. Draymond Green a +33. So if this team's going to get hot and they're going to make a run, it's going to have to come from the players that are currently on the roster. And so, you can augment the bench, and I think you could make a case that maybe augmenting the bench is the proper way to go. But, again, it's going to have to come from the group that the Warriors have. And I think, I'm not going to be in a rush or in a panic to trade Andrew Wiggins. I think that's the best way to look at it. I think there are other ways the Warriors can get their financial house in order without feeling like you have to trade Andrew Wiggins 12 days from today on February 8th, right at the trade deadline. And Wiggins playing better really over the last month, I think, is another example of why. So that was kind of my one point. Because Kuminga has come on the scene and he had another 20-plus, his sixth straight 20-plus point game. But if you're going to make the decision to build around Kuminga, you need other players that can play well with Kuminga. And I think, Wiggins was not one of those players, but with Draymond, it's changed the calculus maybe a little bit. And, again, this team still needs wings that can play. He's the only true 3 on the Warriors roster, as much as Klay Thompson's played the backup 3 and played a lot of 3 because the Warriors have gone to the 3-guard lineups for a good chunk of the season. So that's sort of my take of the night here on Dubs OT with JD, the sports leader. I would not be in a hurry to trade Andrew Wiggins. It's not like he's a $40, $50 million player anymore. Moving forward, he's going to be in that $25 million range. His contract's going to be going the right direction, which is down as he gets older. He's still not quite to his 29th birthday, which is coming up February the 23rd. And so I just would be reluctant to trade him. Other thing I wanted to get to, the key sequence in the second overtime. And, yeah, to me, it was all surrounding the Brandon Podziemski three-point attempt. You look at the Warriors down the stretch, and the Warriors found themselves up on a Curry 3. Wiggins got the big steal. Klay hit a 3 after the Warriors found themselves down 139 to 135. Klay hits a 3, makes it a 139-138 game. Then Andrew Wiggins gets a steal out in the left wing. It leads to a Curry 3. Warriors are up 2 at that point. And it basically was the Podziemski three-pointer as Klay had fouled out. Draymond had gotten a stop. Podziemski misses the three. And then D'Angelo Russell ended up hitting a three right back the other way. Curry had a long two miss in there after the Russell three-point make. And that's tough. And then Wiggins fouled out. Reeves split the two. You get the heroics from Steph and Curry. But that was the one point in the game. When Klay hit the three to make it a one-point game, Wiggins gets the steal. Curry hits the three, 141 to 139. And then Draymond gets a stop on D'Angelo Russell after Klay had fouled out on the bad call. But Podziemski misses the three. And it was a three that was open, and it was a good look. And I don't think it's categorized as a bad shot. But they could have kept it moving and gotten another shot. He missed it. Again, I'm not putting it on Podziemski, but that miss into the D'Lo three that put the Lakers back ahead by one, that among the overtime and the double overtime stretches, I think was the backbreaker for the Warriors. Curry then had a long two miss. Wiggins fouled out. Reeves split a pair. Curry with the heroics, and then Draymond clearly did foul LeBron James as LeBron put his head down and went to the bucket and made both free throws to allow the Lakers to prevail in this one by that final of 145 to 144. So I think that was the key sequence as to why the Warriors ultimately end up losing this one. Back to the YouTube chat we go. No Cap 757. I've been saying they're not making the playoffs unless they make a trade. Only 2 weeks left for that. I just wonder what kind of trade they can make that is going to dramatically improve them at this point. And I've sort of flipped on that a little bit from where I was a couple of weeks ago before the tragic passing of assistant coach Dejan Milojevic and the ensuing break in the action and hiatus that the Warriors had. And so, yeah, we got Alpha Nickelberry. JD, it's time for the soft rebuild. We talked about, well, what does a soft rebuild look like? A soft rebuild basically puts the Warriors roster, I think, into three different categories. And that is the Steph, Klay, Draymond category is one bucket, if you will. It sound like Gabe Kapler talking about buckets. So there's a soft rebuild there with those three, and then it's the young players. It's Kuminga, it's Moody, it's Podziemski, it's Trayce Jackson-Davis. You keep those four with the other three, and then it puts the Wiggins and the Loonies and the Saric and the Paytons in the you have to make a decision as to what you're going to do. You're keeping the young guys. You're maybe looking to move the vets that aren't Steph, Klay, or Draymond, and you're also making the point to say, okay, it's not, playoffs are not going to be the expectation, as disappointing as it is to basically admit that at this point in time so early as we haven't even hit February yet. But that's what a soft rebuild looks like if the Warriors are going to be looking at a soft rebuild. Robert in Oakland is up next here on the Sports Leader. Robert, you're on Dubs OT with JD. What's going on today,
what's
Robert?
up, JD?
What's up, man?
What's up, JD? Yeah, so I was just wondering, what if we don't even make the playoffs? Because, right now, we're, not even in the playoffs. I know it's highly doubtful that you can highly doubt it, that they're not going to even going to make it. But, they still might not make it. And what would happen for the future of the Warriors if they didn't even go and make the playoffs with this team?
Yeah, I think if they don't make it, Steve Kerr might be gone. I think Klay Thompson might be gone. And look, I think Steph Curry and Draymond Green want Steve Kerr to coach this team. And really the one that matters there is Steph. If Steph wants Steve Kerr to coach the team and Steve Kerr wants to coach the team, I think Steve Kerr's coaching the team. But, again, everybody has to sort of be on board with that. But, no, and it ain't crazy at all. The Warriors are 3 games out of 10th. They're 3 games. Let me say that again. The Warriors are 3 games out of 10th. They are closer to the Memphis Grizzlies than they are to a play-in tournament slot. The Warriors are 12th in the Western Conference. They're a game behind Houston, who's in 11th. 2 games, and Houston's 2 games back. The Warriors are 3 games back of the play-in tournament right now. They're only 2 games ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 18 and 27. And suddenly have won 3 in a row. I mean, they are closer to Memphis, Portland, and San Antonio, the Warriors are, than they are to Utah, the Lakers, and Dallas, who right now are 10-9-8 in the West. So the thought that they're not going to make the playoffs is 100% on the table. And I think you're going to see wholesale changes if that's the case for the Warriors. Robert, thank you for the call, and we appreciate you chiming in here on Dubs OT with JD from Harmonic Brewing on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, still time for more phone calls, more text messages. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line here as the Warriors dip now to 5 under 500. I mean, Greg, nothing is off the table for the Warriors if they don't make the playoffs. The question for me right now is, are they going to look at where they are right now with some promising efforts but some horrific results, and are they going to decide that they're going to make that leap on their own as far as heading down the road of, all right, not our year, let's start trading some people in that middle bucket that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago sooner rather than later?
Well, JD, I got asked this question in the middle of the game when it was, like a 2-point game in the second quarter, because somebody that I'm close to was like, oh, well, trade's coming. And I was thinking, I don't really know who's out there that you could trade for and probably over-sacrifice, given that you're one of the more desperate teams in the league just to turn around this season. I mean, maybe DeJounte Murray's a guy. I know we talked about that this morning on Just Dubs, but I don't know. And you can have some good efforts where the result just didn't go your way. But I'm going to bring the discussion back to what I said earlier with the scale being so tipped to the side of a loss in the column versus a win. And so I don't know at what point you can just be like, yeah, well, we got good efforts and these lineups are working, because at some point, and probably already should have, you got to make it happen. You got to go on a winning streak. And I'm just being realistic. And yes, Bay Area fans have been very, very spoiled by this Golden State Warriors team. But right now, it seems like just about everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And they used to be the team that you could never kill. They are now the team that can't put anybody away under any circumstance.
Yeah, I mean, that is the prevailing theme, I think, in this one, is the fact that, yeah, they can't put anybody away. And tonight, because the Lakers, aren't a great team, but they have, a couple of future Hall of Famers themselves, and LeBron James, obviously one of the greats of all time. It didn't feel like, throughout a lot of it, like, oh, the Warriors, should be up more, or, oh, the Warriors are only up 6, they're playing great. Like, it didn't feel like that kind of game, but so many this season, Greg, have felt like that kind of game, that when you still are in position to win with a 9-point lead and about 4 to 6 minutes to go, you feel like you have to get the job done. And so this one kind of winds up in its own little mini category, but there are too many variations of this just bone-crushing loss to go around for the Warriors. And again, tonight's the kind of night when nobody comes into the post-game press conference after Steve Kerr for over 40 minutes. It's the kind of night and the kind of game that can potentially wreck a season and wreck, at some point tonight's the game where everybody looks around in the locker room and it goes one of two ways, right? It goes, damn it, we're sucking it up and we're going to keep fighting, or it goes, we're letting go of the rope because we know no matter what we do, we just aren't good enough to get the job done. And so, yeah, tough stuff for the Warriors tonight. Back to the YouTube chat. Wiggins is coming around. He had a good game. Yeah, I agree. I would not trade Wiggins. I'm going to go out there right now and say it. The Warriors may do it. We can evaluate where they're left if they do it, but I would not trade Andrew Wiggins. Amar Singh, young players not good in the big moments. Yeah, that's part of the, if you want Pajemski and you want Kuminga out there down the stretch in games, you're going to have to live with some mistakes. There's no doubt. Amar also saying positives to rebuild for next year. This year is cooked. So we'll see. I think, unfortunately, the Warriors are kind of heading down that path. Makino, Klay sucks on defense, and so does Wiggins. Now, Wiggins is a good defender. Klay can't guard bigger guys all the night. How many nails does it take to seal the Dubs coffin? That from Joe H. A lot of different things here on the chat tonight. And appreciate everybody. We've had a lot of people in the room tonight watching and listening as we broadcast here from Harmonic. But, the Warriors' point of attack defense, Raymond Cook, excellent point here. Point of attack defense for the Warriors is bad. Absolutely. There's no doubt. There's just too many times that this Warriors team just can't defend. San Jose Jazz fan team meeting. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what comes of if the Warriors had a team meeting, although tonight doesn't feel like a team meeting kind of a night, to be perfectly honest. Tonight is just one of those where everybody's kind of looking around and it's stunned silence, or somebody steps up and starts yelling, hey, we're going to get it together. This thing isn't going to end right now. I could see Draymond maybe having that empowered speech, but you got to believe it in order to say it. And I think that's where everybody's kind of looking around and wondering if you believe it. Yeah, Tony, 2023, defense. Defense has been the problem. No question. No question about it. Yeah, Joe Schmo, dab this guy up. Yeah, I said, hey, I'll buy you a brew if you come and say hi to me. Well, we had a guy come in, he said hi, dabbed him up, and that was it. He was out. He was like, he just kind of went off into the night. He had a brew coming to him, but he didn't want it. So it goes, right? So it goes for the Warriors, unfortunately. Here, there was a chat about Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, and would you trade Kuminga, Douglas Mikes? Kuminga's going to be better than Dorian Finney-Smith, probably. Yeah, I don't know that he's going to be better than Dorian Finney-Smith by the end of the season, but I think he projects to be a better player than Finney-Smith. But Finney-Smith's an excellent defender, and as a 3-and-D guy, I want to separate Kuminga from Finney-Smith. Finney-Smith is exactly the kind of player that the Warriors need. The issue is they need him and Wiggins and Kuminga, to be honest. They need all three of them. They're all three. Finney-Smith is true blood 3-and-D. Wiggins is slasher, good defender, can make some threes here and there. Kuminga is put your head down and get to the basket, points in the paint, almost this generation's version of the post-up center, even though he's a power forward. Yes, please. Thank you, Julia. Appreciate that. It really is the Warriors don't have enough wings. They don't have enough wings. They don't have enough. I think all three of those guys. I would love to have Finney-Smith be a backup with Kuminga and Wiggins starting, or have Kuminga go back to the bench and put him out there with Wiggins and Finney-Smith and Draymond. And so, but yeah, I wouldn't be inclined to trade Kuminga with the way that he's looked for Finney-Smith. Douglas Mikes. I should have worded that better. Somebody in the chat wanted to trade Kuminga for Finney-Smith. I wouldn't do Kuminga for Finney-Smith. In a straight up kind of a deal, and I don't know Finney-Smith's salary off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But no, we talked about it. Joe Schmo saying it. Kuminga, I think I've seen enough from Kuminga to where I wouldn't. I'm not saying he's untradeable come the summer, but I think he's pretty much untradeable as far as 2 weeks from now. I want to continue to see more, and I really want to see how it looks with Wiggins. I want to see how it looks with Draymond Green. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. 808 KNBR. We'll keep this thing rolling. We'll do one more segment. We'll get Sounds of Silver. We will get Fun with Numbers. We'll get back to the phones. No Cap 757. Royce O'Neal and Finney-Smith for JK and whoever else. I like Royce O'Neal, too. He could be a 3-and-D wing. Now you're making me think about it a little bit more. Everybody wants to make deals with Brooklyn. Have we heard Mikal Bridges' name tonight as of yet? Maybe we will between now and 11 o'clock. Heartbreaker for the Dubs. Warriors fall over at Chase tonight, 145-144. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
KNBR, the sports leader.
Did you hear something?
Yeah, like a swoosh.
Yeah.
Dubs OT presents the sounds of silver. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Reeves looking up to James. James on the drive, goes inside, off balance, shot in and out. Rebound deflected. Double overtime. There's a lot of exhausted players out on the floor right now.
Oh, yeah, the exhaustion was noticeable, especially in the overtime and the second overtime. Mike Breen on ABC. How about this one for the Saturday night showcase in late January as they go full bore here in this week of the championship games, typically when ABC really breaks out the Saturday night specials. Here moving forward into February and March, Draymond Green stopping LeBron James on that final possession, forcing the second overtime. Warriors came from 5 down in the second overtime. They were down 137 to 132, had a 2-point lead. Warriors went on a 9-2 run. Curry hit the 3, but it's not enough. LeBron and the Lakers walk out of chase with a 145-144 double overtime victory over the Warriors. Time now for Sounds of Silver. We go back to our San Francisco studios and bring in the one and only Greg Silver. Greg, I know we've been getting your thoughts kind of mixed in here over the last 90 minutes as we went live right as this game went final. But what do you got tonight as far as Sounds of Silver?
Well, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Not so much at the start, but we're going to play a couple of full press conferences, at least as aired on NBC Sports Bay Area. So first we have a couple of shorter cuts from Steve Kerr, the only one to go out to the podium for about that first hour. Eventually, we did have a few players go, so we're going to play the full 2.5 minutes of Klay Thompson and the full 2 minutes of Steph Curry. But first, we'll get to Steve Kerr. JD, I know you saw this one on social, but you didn't necessarily get to hear the cut yet. This is Steve Kerr saying he's not going to comment about the free throws, but also kind of comments about the free throws.
Made sure to note their free throw attempts is that, I mean, they obviously are the more physical team, but did you feel like that's what tilted the game?
I might comment on the free throws that they shot, but my mom is here right now, and I want to be on my best behavior, so I'm not going to comment on the 43 free throws to our 16. I'm not going to comment on Steph shooting 3 free throws in 43 minutes. So I'm not going to comment on that.
Not going to comment, but I'm going to comment. That's the. I don't know what move you would make, Greg, if your mom was in the room. If my mom was in the room, my mom would almost be looking at me like, you better comment on those free throws. You better comment on those free throws, son. I don't know.
Absolutely,
the dynamic in play there. But, Steve not going to comment on him, but going to comment on him. Maybe he didn't go in on the officiating as much as he would had his mom not been in the room. But, he clearly, in a very Steve Kerr way, let everybody know that he was paying attention to what was going on there.
This might have been a good night to pull out the laptop, JD.
Yeah, if you could get him turned around that quickly. Now, if you remember, when Mike Brown pulled the laptop out, Mike Brown had been ejected from the game that he did that in the postgame press conference. So he basically had, I want to say, a quarter and a half, almost 2 quarters, to get the video in order and his laptop presentation in order. I think that was in Milwaukee when the Kings got beat on a Damian Lillard three-pointer at the buzzer. Kerr didn't have the prep time, I don't think, tonight, Greg, to be able to get that. It's with everything that went on and the chaotic finish to this one and all of that. But, I'm surprised, though, that Steve didn't go in a little harder, to be honest. Mom or no mom, Greg? What's next?
All right, up next we have Steve Kerr trying to keep it as positive as possible at the podium, talking about feeling like the way the Warriors played, they deserve to win the game, and he likes his team, I think, at least some of them, and so he's going to remain optimistic in certain ways. Let me get that for you.
I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but despite the loss, what do you take away from how your team executed or performed, just taking it all the way to double overtime?
Fantastic. Our guys were amazing. They were amazing. The way they battled, the way they competed and stayed in the game and made so many plays. Just felt like we deserved to win that game. The way the guys fought, and there were just so many plays that could have gone either way. Just felt like a game that we deserved to win. But that's. As long as we keep playing, the way we played tonight, then I think we're going to turn this around and have a great season. I really believe that. I love our guys. They're amazing, and they've been through so much this year. And I know who they are. I know how connected they are. I know how much they care about each other and about the game. And we're gonna turn it. Tonight was we didn't get the result, but our guys showed who they are tonight.
Well, that's the name of the game, and really that's the only thing that the Warriors can do moving forward, Greg, is keep fighting. Now, how do you do it? Because not every game is ABC Saturday Night Showcase with, rivalry week on top. Not every game is Thursday night against the team that you went 7 thrilling games with 90 miles down the road on TNT. Like, there are a lot of other games that, frankly, the Warriors, if they had brought the effort and the intensity that they have brought to these last 2 games in some of these other games at Memphis on the MLK holiday, they probably win those games. And, at that point, maybe we're, again, having a different conversation. But the only thing the Warriors can do, and I think Steve Kerr took the right tone, Greg, is to continue to try to be positive, to continue to try to say, hey, look, I love this team. Keep doing that, and we'll be okay. But the "will be okay" part of it, as Steve Kerr relates it back to his own team, is you're going to have to get hotter than you've been at any point this season just to get back to 500 now that you're -6.
Yeah, I applaud Steve Kerr for the tone he took at the podium. I know we're out here on the radio saying that we're not going to sugarcoat things. I'm certainly not in the mood to go and sugarcoat, but Steve Kerr does know his players very well, especially this veteran core. He means it from the heart when he says they've been through a lot this year, and I am with him that the effort was fully there. Like, what are you going to do and look at? Are you going to say Klay Thompson wasn't trying? Are you going to say Draymond Green didn't do enough? Did Steph Curry had 46 points, and he looked so gassed. He looked like he ran about 100 stairs in like the high school conditioning basketball tryouts for the bleachers, like that kind of vibe. So I do think it's fair to say the effort was totally there, but man, at some point, these losses just add up, and you got to get a couple of sweeteners in there before you just keep losing and trying to repeat the same thing.
They keep you fighting. I mean, that's like, you got to get a couple of wins to keep fighting. And yeah, San Jose Jazz fan, didn't the Warriors start the season -2 or 6-2? Yeah, 6-2. Well, if you go 6-2 in your next 8, you're 2 games under 500. Like that was kind of my point, is you got to get hotter than you've been at any point this year if you're going to even get back to 500. The Warriors would have to go 8-2 to get back to 500. They'd have to go 6-0 to get back to 500. They'd have to go 10-4 to get back to 500. We're looking at basically the Warriors would have to have a hot month to get back to 500, an 11-4 month to get back. Just to get back to 500, and 500 isn't getting you squat. 500 is getting you the 9 or the 10 seed. The way things are right now, looking at the NBA standings, and I'm looking at them. Yeah, the 10 seed right now is 24-23. So the Warriors could go 8-2 in the next 10 and still not be at a level that qualifies them for even the freaking play-in tournament. So that's how bad the Warriors have put themselves in a position here with now 40 games to go. I guess 39 games to go. Man, they're coming fast. Yeah, 39 games to go with the Warriors tonight playing their 43rd. So 39 to go. Long way ahead for the Warriors. All right, let's go ahead and hear, Greg, the full Stephen Curry press conference, correct?
Yep.
Steph came out late Klay Thompson came out. Jonathan Kuminga came out. It was well over 40 minutes after Steve Kerr spoke or after the game ended. But Steph and Klay and Kuminga did speak. We'll hear from Steph and Klay. First up is Stephen Curry, and here's what he had to say following this one.
Our whole season, we've had, some tough breaks, some self-inflicted wounds, some games that, obviously you should have won, and there's disappointment walking on the floor, and like tonight is a night where you feel like you played well enough to win, almost like the Sat game, and again have nothing to show for it. We fought the whole way, stayed in it even when things weren't going our way, gave ourselves an opportunity. Goes down to the last possession 3 or 4 times in regulation, both overtimes, and it just shows that we really want it. We're playing with a little bit of desperation, trying to change the tide of our season, and just don't have nothing to show for it right now.
Steph, you said the other night after the loss that you viewed that loss differently in terms of closing than some of your prior losses. How did you look at tonight with the 2 overtimes but the inability to still close it out?
It's the same vibe. Doesn't make it any better. It actually makes it worse. Like I said, played well enough, had a tough stretch in the middle of the fourth quarter, but you can see we were flying around, playing aggressive, understanding every possession was important, and makes or misses or whatever, like there's just an energy about what we were trying to do. So the good news is if we can keep doing that, you would like to think that you could build momentum, and that's what our hope is, but it's just a tough way to, back-to-back games at home that you play well enough to win and just don't get it done.
Yeah. No, I mean, preaching the gospel there is Stephen Curry, but also, Greg, at a little bit of a loss, right? At just kind of a loss to find the words and to find the fight, because here's the one thing that I always say. Hall of Fame players and champions, and the Warriors have 3 of those guys on this current roster. I'm going to separate Chris Paul from that, who is a Hall of Famer, but he's not a champion, and he wasn't along for the Steph, Klay, Draymond era.
Or this game.
Those 3 know what it takes to be a legitimate contender. The other part of that, though, Greg, is those 3 know, because they've been through it for over a decade, they know when a team doesn't have it. And so if they are starting to allow the doubt to seep in, and the doubt would be seeping in based on the fact that the Warriors did so many things well in these last 2 games. Yes, made some mistakes. Yes, down the stretch. All of that. Bad defense, in particular against Sacramento. But those players know when a team doesn't have it, and if they know, hey, this team isn't good enough, and they let go of the focus or the rope at all, then the younger players that haven't been through it, that just look up at the record and feel the emotion of the losses, then they don't keep breaking. So it's on Steph and Klay and Draymond to believe that this team still has a shot to get on a run, to set the tone for everybody else up and down the roster. And I'm not going to say I sense doubt in Stephen Curry's voice there. I thought Steve Kerr really tried to prop his team up, which is admirable considering the circumstances. But they got to keep doing it. And it gets harder to do it, Greg, with every loss that you take in the manner that the Warriors took these last 2 losses.
Yeah, it's like when a team struggles in any sport, really, the narrative becomes finding different ways to lose. And the Warriors have found a few different ways to lose. And
unfortunately, it's what bad teams do, right?
Uh-huh. It is exactly what bad teams do. And that doesn't mean Stephen Curry is not a great player. It doesn't mean Draymond Green is not a great player and that Klay Thompson has nights where he's still very much a champion and shows who he has been as a player. But this team, you're right. No more talk of this team is deep. No, this team has a bunch of decently capable players. Like, this team doesn't have a bunch of bad players. But where are the answers coming from outside of your two most important players in Steph and Draymond? If we're talking night to night, Kuminga's emerging, and that's great.
Yeah.
But he's not all the way there yet.
Can he be your third? Can he be your second best player, and you're going to be a winning team? Like, I think that, like, even as Kuminga, and I'm not putting this on Kuminga, it's not his fault.
Yeah, of course not.
But as Kuminga develops, like, I've seen a lot here in the last 48 hours and the last couple of weeks of, well, what if Kuminga's the 2 with Steph? Well, if Kuminga's the 2 with Steph this year or next year, you ain't winning a championship with that. You probably aren't even a playoff team, to be honest with that. If he's your second best player, and again, that's not a slight on him. What you need, and this is what we've seen tonight and in the game against Sacramento, if Kuminga can get you 20, starting or off the bench, doesn't matter. The only way it actually is tangible in terms of being able to win games is if Wiggins also has 20 and Klay also has 20 and Steph does his thing and Draymond's a big-time plus player. Like Kuminga needs to be your fourth best player for you to have a chance to really make a legitimate run. So, again, that's not a slight on Kuminga at all. It's more a question of, or a statement to, the fact that this team still needs to be better in many other areas, even if you believe Kuminga's a really good emerging young player.
I completely hear you. Should we get to Klay Thompson and his press conference?
Let's get to Klay Thompson. We're going to play the whole Klay Thompson press conference, and, man, the dauber is down for not only Stephen Curry but Klay Thompson. But he did meet with the media after a lengthy delay as the Warriors were sorting through their thoughts following this one. Let's go back over across the street to Chase and Klay Thompson in the Bill King interview room.
What do you think ultimately kind of decided this one?
I would probably say, it's a tough question. There are a lot of factors. We just got to limit our fouling, I guess, 43 to 16 free throw discrepancy is not ideal if you want to win. So we just got to limit our fouling and play well offensively. We had great looks to win the game. I had a few. They just didn't go down.
You guys went with a different starting lineup tonight with Kuminga and Wiggins and Draymond center. What do you like about how that worked out?
Just a lot of versatility amongst that group, defensively, offensively, and great athletes, shooters. Draymond was incredible tonight at plus 31, shows his impact, and just a lot of versatility with that unit.
Steve sounded actually pretty optimistic about, where you guys are at, the lineup you used tonight, Draymond being back and playing the way he is. Obviously this game is going to sting, but are you feeling pretty good about where this is trending?
A lot of games have stung this year. We've had a lot of heartbreaking losses. But, I'm going to continue to be optimistic along with Steve, and it's a long season, so we know we can be even better. And no need to get discouraged with plenty of basketball left.
You mentioned it there, though. You guys do have kind of an abnormal amount of games that have come down to this 1-point losses, even 2 this week. How does that start to wear on you, when you have that many of those type of losses?
Oh, not really, because we know how talented we are as a group and what we're capable of. So although they suck to lose anytime at a high level, we can learn from it. And like I said before, there's plenty of basketball ahead to right the ship. And, we got time. But there needs to be a sense of urgency, obviously. But we're not going to get discouraged.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game. Again, it's not getting discouraged. It's continuing to fight, continuing to bring the energy that they brought over these last 2 games, the intensity, the belief that these are like playoff games. That's what they have to do, and I think they'll be able to do it against Philadelphia on Tuesday. I mean, that's a game that'll have that feel, and another TNT game on Tuesday as well. So I think there'll be some added juice to that game. Here, but it's at Greg. Here's what it boils down to: it's can you somehow get the Philly game, but then go on this upcoming road trip, win at Memphis, win at Atlanta. Memphis and Atlanta stink, and I know the Grizzlies have won 3 in a row, but they're not a good team. You go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn lately has stunk. Like, can you go win 3 on the road? In addition to maybe steal, you get the Philly game, and then you got some action. You keep fighting. This team needs the fuel to continue to be. The fire to continue to be fueled, rather, by getting a couple of wins strung together. This team just hasn't been good enough to put teams away. As you mentioned earlier, they also have not been in a position where they've been able to string a lot of victories together without a loss, and that's exactly what they're going to have to do.
My honest answer to this is that, yes, we know the Warriors are good enough at times for stretches to take down a Boston Celtics team or to go toe-to-toe with the Denver Nuggets and have competitive games with them, including 1 on the road, 2 on the road. I think every team in the NBA right now looks at the Warriors. I don't think anybody's intimidated. I think everyone sees it as an opportunity for their best effort, maybe an opportunity for revenge from past years of just getting beat so badly. But this team is not intimidating to anybody. So I think any game on the schedule, I don't care if it's the Grizzlies with 5 of their 6 best players out. I think every game, nothing is a given.
No, nothing is a given. But again, the fight has to be there. To me, it starts with it's not that it's can you replicate the fight that you had these last 2? Because we've seen them give up a bunch of points to Memphis and struggle for a half plus against Portland and Atlanta and all those teams. Like, can you find I get the logical theory that, hey, if you keep playing the way that you played, you can get on a run. But the problem becomes, Greg, you don't play that way again. The only time that this team has consistently played the way that they've played tonight have been in other games like tonight, right? When it's a bright lights game. Like, this team has risen to the occasion in the bright lights game. Denver on TNT a couple weeks ago, they built the 18-point lead against the defending champs. Boston before Christmas, they beat the Celtics at Chase. They are competitive on Christmas in Denver. All the games against Sacramento, highly competitive. You look at tonight's game, ABC against the Lakers, Saturday Night Showcase, they're highly competitive. The Warriors have enough to get up and compete in these games. The problem is the Warriors have not had the juice to lay that kind of effort on some of the ne'er-do-wells and the losers across the league, and so they've allowed themselves to get beat by some of those teams, and then you just can't build any momentum. And again, there are 3 of those games coming up: Memphis, Atlanta, Brooklyn on this next road trip.
Well, it's time they face the facts, because you mentioned it early, JD, very early on in the show. The Warriors are a lot closer to those teams they might look at as losers and bottom feeders of the league than they are the teams that they aspire to be.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get to what do we need to do here, Greg? Actually, let me ask you.
We can keep it going as long as you need to till the show ends.
All right. Okay, we're going to keep it going. Let's do fun with numbers, which, I mean, some of them are fun, but the end result is the complete and utter opposite of fun. Torture with the Warriors losing this game.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, fun with numbers here on Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR, the sports leader. Let me call it up here. As the Warriors wind up losing, I got my notes here to go through. Warriors now, here's a big one, Greg. Under 500 now at home. 12-13 on the home floor. We've talked about it. Every home loss now is just another extra added home loss that the Warriors have in comparison to last year. They now have 5 more home losses than they did all of last year. The 5 games under 500. The 5 games under 500 for the Warriors is the most that the Warriors have been under 500 since in the last 2 years. The most that the Warriors have been under 500 in the last 2 years. I'm digging this one up as we go because I wanted to make a point to look it up. Yeah, this is the most that the Warriors have been under 500 since the 15-50 pandemic-shortened season. So I look back, they were 4 under was the low water mark this year, Greg. 3-7 was the low water mark last year, -4 to 500. And I was going back through the 2020-21 season, and it looks like -4 was the low water mark. They were 24-28 as late as April 9th before they went on the 15-5 finish to get into the play-in tournament before the Lakers and Grizzlies ultimately knocked them out. But yeah, this is the low water mark for the Warriors since the pandemic. You got to go back to when they were 15
we suck again.
15-50 on March the 10th. Everything shut down on March 11th, but their last game was March the 10th before everything stopped back 4 years ago. Warriors 1-3 in games that go to OT or double OT. Prior to tonight, it was the Warriors' first double OT game since January of last year. They beat the Hawks in what was the first game of the calendar year 2023, 143-141. Warriors are 0-1 against the Lakers. 3 more meetings coming up, with the second of 3 to be the first game out of the All-Star break at Chase on February 22nd. So it's going to be a couple of weeks, and then 2 more games down in L.A. coming up between now and the end of the regular season. Warriors scored a season-high 144. Add that to the list, Greg, of things that the Warriors wasted. A season-high 144, season-high field goal makes 55. Again, when you go double OT, you're going to have more field goal makes. But the Warriors also allowed an opponent season-high 145. The prior season high was 141 when they got throttled a couple of weeks ago by the Pelicans. Warriors attempted a franchise record 58 three-point attempts. The previous high was in the pandemic season of 2021. At the end against the Thunder, they shot 54 with limited fans over at Chase Center on that night, but 58, the new record. 15th different starting lineup for the Warriors. I think this one's a keeper as long as Draymond can play the 5, and it was the 502nd consecutive sellout. Some individual numbers. Tonight was, how about this, the 65th time in Stephen Curry's career he's had 40 or more points. 65 times, Greg, the Warriors have lost 12 of the 65. Tonight, the 12th loss in 65 games where Steph goes for 40 or more. Also the 40th career game that Steph has made 9 or more threes. That is the most in NBA history. 40. And how about this? The next closest is Damian Lillard, who's done it 13 times. Klay Thompson is third all time. He's done it 12 times. So 9 or more threes in a game, Greg. Steph has done it 40. And then Lillard 13, Klay 12. That's incredible when you think about it.
It is phenomenal. And I think that probably the thing to hold on to for anybody in the Bay Area is, as agonizing as so many of these losses have been, there is still the privilege of being able to watch Stephen Curry, because he truly is one of the all-time great players this game has ever seen, and he is still at an all-time elite level. But this is a team sport, and that is why the Warriors are really struggling as a team in a lot of ways, and there's been many factors that contribute to it. But to be able to watch this guy, it's unreal.
Yeah, it's still unreal. We talked about Jonathan Kuminga, 6th straight 20-plus game. Kuminga played a career-high 43 minutes. Draymond Green had a season-high 14 rebounds. The number you need to know with Draymond is the plus 33. And it's remarkable on both accounts. It's Draymond being a plus 33, but it's the Warriors. He played all but 12 minutes. He played 46 of 58 minutes, plus 33. That means the Warriors lost this game in the 12 minutes Draymond Green didn't play. They were a minus 34. It was a blowout loss in 12 minutes Draymond didn't play. It was a blowout win in 46 minutes that he did play. It ends up being one of the all-time heartbreakers, coupled with the game that the Warriors lost the other night on Thursday against the Kings. Couple other notes here before we call it a night. Brandon Pajemski, 9th game this year with at least 10, 5, and 5 boards and assists on the 5 and 5. That's the most among all rookies. Klay Thompson, 17th game of 20 or more. Warriors would have wanted more than 17 at this point of the season, but the 7th game where he's made 6 or more threes, which is actually the 3rd most in the league this year. Andrew Wiggins, 5th 20-point outing, but the Warriors are 1-4 when Andrew Wiggins scores 20 or more. Riddle me that. Warriors being 1-4 when all they've wanted is Wiggins to get going, and then when Wiggins gets going, they still can't win a game. And we heard it, Greg, on the lead-in from Doris Burke, and I wanted to make sure I got this right because I had it noted 32nd clutch game of the season. The Warriors now 15-17 in 32 games. Again, those are within 5 points with 5 minutes or less. And obviously this game more than qualified. The Warriors had 420 or more point scorers for the first time since the final game of last year. Remember when they scored over 50 in Portland on Easter Sunday to solidify the 6th seed in their matchup against Sacramento? The Warriors did it for the first time since the last game of last year, but they lose this one tonight in heartbreaking fashion. All right, that'll do it. We'll call it a night on that note. Appreciate the callers. Appreciate everybody in the YouTube chat. We'll be back right here at Harmonic Brewing. Thanks to everyone at Harmonic as well for setting us up and having a good time. Really appreciate that. Greg, incredible effort. You have earned yourself a day off tomorrow. Enjoy the championship Sunday across the NFL, my friend.
Thank you, JD. As tough as watching the basketball was at times tonight, it is always a pleasure to work with you, and we're very fortunate to be able to be in this position. So I don't take that for granted.
Yeah, it was a thrilling game, and I appreciate you. I know you were the lone man standing in the studio. You, my friend, live for nights like tonight. Maybe not the result, because I know you're a huge Warriors fan and you wear it on your sleeve. But you bringing it tonight in a big-time way to help us through over 2 hours here on Dubs OT tonight from Harmonic in a double overtime game. We should have been off the air 95 minutes ago if this had been a normal game and a normal night. Anything but normal. But we're doing this show for you, the people, Dub Nation. Thank you so much for the calling and the watching and the responding on social media. Tremendous effort. That'll do it. We'll talk to you Tuesday. I'll be back with Dubs OT following the Warriors and the Sixers. Lakers get the job done tonight. Enjoy Championship Sunday. Enjoy the 49ers and the Detroit Lions tomorrow right here on KNBR coming up at 3:30. For Greg, I'm JD. We'll talk to you Sunday here, 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Lakers lead. Warriors have to throw it down the length. Hope for a miracle. Curry launches at the buzzer. Won't go, and the Lakers hold on and win in double overtime.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
We got Steph Curry.
If that doesn't tell you the pieces don't fit, I don't know what else does.
Oh, great! I hate it!
The Warriors lost this game in the minutes in which Draymond Green was not on the court. The Warriors lost this game in the fourth quarter.
They used to be the team that you could never kill. They are now the team that can't put anybody away under any circumstance.
The Warriors defensively were just horrendous in the time that Draymond Green was not on the court tonight.
The only flow that's going is down a toilet.
A lot of games have stung this year. We've had a lot of heartbreaking losses.